Welcome to China Watch. Unlike Western democratic societies, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has regarded media as a brainwashing tool from the very beginning. Since the CCP took power, private media ownership has been banned. The government controls all television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and later, internet media, using them as tools to instill communist ideology, suppress dissent, intimidate the public, and distort or conceal the truth. Media outlets are strictly censored, and journalists live in constant fear. Those who dare to voice differing opinions face severe consequences. This censorship extends beyond state-run outlets to personal posts on public websites or private groups, all of which are under surveillance. A 2023 report by the Citizen Lab, a cybersecurity research group at the University of Toronto, revealed that over 66,000 search terms are censored or filtered by Chinese search engines, all of which have established self-censorship systems. The CCP has established a specialized propaganda department solely for brainwashing, which operates within the party's internal system. This propaganda apparatus is enormous. By the end of 2010, there were more than 1.3 million employees in China's propaganda and cultural system. This includes about 56,000 personnel at the provincial, municipal, and county levels, approximately 1.2 million in local propaganda and cultural units, and around 52,000 in central-level units. This figure excludes the vast number of internet police, moderators, public opinion commentators, and others engaged in propaganda tasks. From the central level down to provincial, city, county, town, and even neighborhood and village committees, propaganda departments are present everywhere, funded by the central and local governments. In 2024, the budget for the Beijing Municipal Propaganda Department was 1.24 billion yuan. Guangdong Province's Propaganda Department was 238 million yuan, and Harbin's Propaganda Department was 40 million yuan. Even Chongqing's Chengkou County, with only 196,500 residents, allocated 5.03 million yuan for propaganda. With 2,844 county-level divisions in China, if each spends 5 million yuan annually, the total county-level propaganda spending surpasses 140 billion yuan, not including provincial, municipal, and township levels. Additionally, all state-owned enterprises, of which there are hundreds of thousands, have their own propaganda departments, making total spending untraceable. Even publicly traded companies remain under CCP control. For instance, the media company U-Media is controlled by Guangzhou's state-owned Cultural Assets Office. Domestic and CCP-controlled overseas media serve to cover up atrocities and whitewash the regime. During the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, China Central Television, CCTV, claimed the military did not open fire on anyone. There were no casualties in Tiananmen Square. In its persecution of Falun Gong, CCTV fabricated the so-called Tiananmen self-immolation to frame Falun Gong, inciting global hatred and escalating the crackdown. This massive cover-up is funded by taxpayers' money to hide the truth about the regime's oppression. Aware of the global influence of U.S. media, the CCP has long sought to infiltrate it through various means, placing media spies in mainstream outlets, co-opting journalists and editors, acquiring stakes in media companies, and funding operations. For example, Walter Duranty, the New York Times Moscow correspondent, was later believed to be a Soviet spy. He deliberately concealed the truth about the 1932 to 1933 Ukrainian famine, denying that millions had died. His reports influenced President Franklin D. Roosevelt to recognize the Soviet regime. Similarly, American leftist journalist Edgar Snow's book Red Star over China glorified Mao Zedong and the CCP. Mao even said Snow was the first person to pave the way for establishing the United Front. Because of their significant contributions to promoting the CCP's image, Snow, Agnes Smedley, and Anna Louise Strong were honored by the CCP with commemorative stamps. The US-based NGO Freedom House released a comprehensive report titled Beijing's global media influence, authoritarian expansion, and the power of democratic resilience, revealing that the CCP exerts significant media influence in 16 countries worldwide. Taiwan, the United States, and the United Kingdom are among the most deeply infiltrated. The report noted that major U.S. newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post had previously published paid inserts from Chinese state media. It also highlighted how Huawei subsidized journalists' trips to China. Additionally, the report exposed the widespread use of CCP-backed apps, Tencent's WeChat and ByteDance TikTok, in the U.S., with millions of users. These apps function as surveillance tools and misinformation platforms for Beijing. WeChat has at least 19 million users in the U.S., and nearly 25% of Americans now use TikTok. Major U.S. media outlets like the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and Bloomberg have close ties to Chinese capital. In 2009, Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim acquired 15.9 million Class A shares of the New York Times, becoming its largest shareholder. Slim has extensive business dealings with Chinese companies, including a 2017 joint venture with JC Motors and partnerships with telecom giant Huawei. CNN, operated by Warner Media, received a $50 million investment in 2013 from a Chinese investment fund, directly supporting China Media Capital, CMC, a media company under CCP oversight. This funding subjects media content to Chinese censorship and propaganda demands. The Hoover Institution reported that Chinese-language media in the U.S. have long been infiltrated by the CCP through various means. Tsingtao Daily, founded in Hong Kong in 1938, was sold in the mid-1990s to a pro-Beijing businessman who joined the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference in 1998. After a 2001 ownership change, Tsingtao partnered with the CCP's Xinhua news agency to launch Xinhua Online. World Journal, one of Taiwan's most influential newspapers owned by the United Daily News, UDN, has business ties with mainland China. In 2015, Xiaobao President Yu Jiang wrote that World Journal and Tsingtao Daily adjusted their editorial stance to strengthen coverage of mainland China, expanding reporting space and reducing negative coverage. Mingpao merged in 2007 with Malaysia's two largest Chinese-language media groups for $600 million. The president of China News Service, Guo Zhaojin, stated this merger aimed to develop Mingpao into one of the largest global Chinese media platforms. International Daily News, run by patriotic overseas Chinese leader Xiong Delong in the U.S., also circulates in Thailand and Indonesia. The Hoover Institution also identified several North American Chinese-language websites infiltrated by the CCP. WinchuaCity.com, founded in 1997 by a Chinese student at the University of Michigan, reportedly signed contracts with Xinhua and China News Service after being sold in 2000. Unverified reports suggest the CCP's propaganda department subsidized the purchase with $1 million. Duowei News, once known for exclusive insights into CCP politics, was acquired in 2009 by a Hong Kong businessman with extensive mainland investments. He co-founded the Tsinghua University Center for U.S.-China Relations and published pro-CCP articles on the South China Sea. The site shut down in 2022. Mirror Media, Mingjing, founded by a former Duowei creator, received large investments from China in 2017. BackChina.com reportedly shifted to pro-CCP coverage after its editor attended the 9th World Chinese Media Forum in 2017, organized by China News Service. The Hoover report revealed that China News Service's overseas centers aim to feed prepackaged content to overseas Chinese media. In 2007, its president Guo Zhaojin stated that controlling Chinese-language media in the U.S. would allow the CCP to influence overseas Chinese communities and gain political leverage in America to protect China's image. In 2010, Wu Ruiqing, director of Guangdong's Overseas Chinese Affairs Office, wrote that overseas Chinese media, schools, and CCP-supported organizations are the three treasures of the CCP's United Front work abroad. Independent Chinese media are rare. According to the Hoover Report, the only truly independent Chinese language media in the U.S. are those founded by Falun Gong practitioners, such as the Epoch Times, New Tang Dynasty Television, and Sound of Hope, along with the smaller publication Vision Times, Kenjonghua. Recently, the New York Times published several negative reports on Shenyun Performing Arts, founded by Falun Gong practitioners. Notably, Nicole Hong, one of the authors, is the daughter of an honorary president of the Western Returned Scholars Association, a group under the CCP's United Front Work Department. The New York Times had similarly negative coverage of Shenyun back in 2008. These reports appear aligned with CCP propaganda. Falun Gong is a legally protected religious group in the U.S., and media outlets publishing false reports may face legal consequences. Falun Gong has endured 25 years of persecution in China, which continues to this day. However, the CCP's global media control will likely collapse as the regime weakens and disintegrates. It is hoped that overseas media will stand up for justice and truth.